welcome everyone to your session. Beth, thanks everyone for joining. It's such a hectic, crazy time, and we're so happy to have so many participants. I believe we have over 180 joining us today. So welcome to Navigating Online Resources. This should be session 3E. So double check to make sure this is the session you are interested in attending. Again, I'll introduce myself just briefly. My name is Ashley Harnett. I'm one of the consultants with Patton, and I'll be helping to moderate and facilitate for this session. So if you have any questions or you need anything, don't hesitate to drop a question into the chat along throughout this presentation. Before we begin, just a couple reminders that this session is being recorded. So the recording will be available and posted on the Schoology site ASAP, as soon as we get it encoded and get it down from the cloud. Due to the size of today's session, we're going to ask that all participants keep their microphone and camera disabled unless needed. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Elizabeth Christopher, and I'm anxious to hear about your session today, Navigating the Tsunami of Online Resources. So take it away.
All right, thank you, Ashley. It's always nice to see a friendly face you haven't seen in a long time. I'm sure we're all feeling that way, right? So welcome to the last one of the day. I have the joy of wrapping up the content that Tammy and Jennifer had presented this earlier this morning and afternoon, and kind of leaving you with some tools and some nuggets of information as we go. So just a real brief, I am the statewide lead for the Speech and Language Initiative. My background is that I've been a trainer in various projects of assistive technology, Project Max, dyslexia, more importantly, ed tech as a technical and training assistance consultant, and in other members for assistive technology. I have several passions, but one of them is functional use of technology and functional use of tools in our therapy sessions. So I am, again, an employee of Patton. I hold the clinical competence in speech pathology. I am a state licensed speech pathologist. I also serve on the State Education Agency's Communication Disabilities Council as the representative for the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm also your representative on the School Issues Advisory Board for Asha. I think you've probably seen this 1,000 times today, but I just want to reiterate that the mission of the Pennsylvania Technical Training Assistance Network, or Patton, is to support all the wonderful work that the Bureau of Special Education does, and to ensure that students receive the best special education services, in this case, speech language pathology, that we can possibly give. We are committed to the least restrictive environment and getting students the tools they need when they need them. So I have a couple norms. We are starting a little late, so I'm going to fly through some of the things, but they're always there at your disposal. This course is not up on Schoology quite yet, but it will be. One of the reasons I kept it off is it is going to be a conversation, and I'm going to be taking copious notes during this conversation and updating the PowerPoint so that you have it all in one place. I am going to put in the chat window a document. The document is a Google Drive document, and it has links to all the Patton resources I'm about to share with you. A couple other norms. We will have some share outs. In the share out pieces, right now it is open to everyone. So please be cautious. Your share outs will appear on the recording, but please share out the tools and tricks and tips that you can't. I see access is denied. I will go back through here and unlock that for you. It was working, but I'm sure something occurred. So the next break in our conversation where we do a chat, I will unlock it for you. All right, so I wasn't able to put a poll in due to the kind of our quick turnover today, so we'll go through and do some polls later. We're going to focus on the positives of things that we can change today and things that we can do and ways that we can support each other. So there are a couple realities we're all facing, right? We're all facing as speech language pathologists and teachers of various subjects, most likely special education. I saw some people asking in here, teachers of children with autism. We might be asked to use multiple platforms, right? I was just working with a team yesterday and the SLP is going to 4 schools and 4 different platforms. So how on earth do you keep up with the 4 platforms? You're going to have students of varied needs. So some students are going to respond very well to Google Drives and to Teams, and some students will have other needs. As Jennifer spoke eloquently about, we need to consider the families that we service and serve an equal IEP partner. So matching the tools to the family's needs, interests, and access abilities is really crucial in this time period. Time. None of us have tons of time. All of us are trying to balance everything at one time. So trying to find the time to keep up on the things that we can. We also might be facing the mixed person and virtual caseload. So some of you might be seeing some students in a core or a hybrid approach virtually, and then other students in person. And how do you coordinate all those pieces? I'm sure some of you on here feel like I don't even have a clue. Everything coming to me is a giant tsunami and I just don't care. I want to hang out in the house and just do my thing. Or just where do I start? We'll talk about that today. And we all have different comfort levels and tech learning styles. Some of us jump right in and some of us are a little more hesitant. Some of us are the type that run to the swimming pool, jump in that water and just deal with the cold. Others are like me, you dip your toe in a little bit, you try to figure it out, and then you jump in anyway. So there's a lot of variability in what we do. So many of you are probably thinking and feeling like this meme here. I have to say this is exactly my face every time something new is announced. There's just, you know, all kinds of craziness going on. So other things that you may have thought to yourself when you talk about or think about technology is, am I using this tool completely? So in the spring, we were all kind of thrown into this. You know, many of us left our offices on Friday, March 13th, and thought we were coming back to our therapy materials, and suddenly we were not. And we're not sure, you know, I was given Schoology, or I was given Google, or I'm using Microsoft Teams. Am I using it correctly? Where do I go to learn more? How can I keep up with everything that's flying at me and my high caseload? I'd love to see what others are doing. So a lot of us just want to hear from each other and see what's happening. Often we get a lot of questions of, well, will Flipgrid do the same things Seesaw will? Will this do the same things? When you start navigating online resources, one of the questions is, who can you trust? Not everything online is valid and good. So where can we get more information? How can we trust what's coming at us? Some of you may be more like, oh, wow, I absolutely love this. This is great. I see my students. I don't have to do any I don't have to get dressed and leave. I can do all this work. This is wonderful. I'm loving all this integration of technology. And others might be thinking, now what? And I don't know if anyone on here feels this way, but you feel like the questions are beating you down. So hopefully by the end of this hour, we will have some resources for you to start the process. So my goal here is that you will leave with at least one trick to finding more resources. You will leave with at least one pre-curated resource list. I know my colleagues on the speech and language team mentioned Padlet and a couple of other tools that we have generated for you. We will give you some more in this process. Share at least one tool or trick that is working for you, and know how to access additional resources. We have a myriad of things coming up for you in the Patent Speech and Language Initiative this fall, and we'd like to highlight those for you so you know where to get more information. So I wasn't able to put a poll in, but I would like to see who's in the Zoom. So first I'm going to start, if you see in the participant window of your Zoom, I believe we have this. Let me double check before I say we do. And we don't. Okay, never mind then. I would like you to pop in quickly in the Zoom chat what your role is. Are you a speech language pathologist? Are you a teacher? Are you an administrator? What is your role?
I'm an SLP.
All right, wonderful. I like seeing this. Oh, great. So far we have some learning support teachers, SLPs, paraprofessionals, welcome. Teacher assistants, everybody calls them different things across the state and nationally. So wonderful to welcome to everyone. It helps. My next question for you, since I can't use the poll, have you been on any of the patent open forums for speech language pathologists? Yes or no? Thank you guys for being so interactive. This is really helpful. I'm a therapist at heart, so talking to the universe is just not, it doesn't feed my soul the same way as interacting and scaffolding instruction. All right, and last but certainly, or two more, I'm sorry. Two more, last but certainly not least, or secondary to least, man, I can't talk today. What state are you in and what part of the state? So if you're in Pennsylvania, Eastern, Western, Central, not in Pennsylvania. All right. Like seeing my Central PA peeps? Welcome. Okay. All right. Now here's my last but certainly not least question. What is your technology comfort level? So number 1 is, man, I wish it didn't exist. And 5 is, I could train on this. I love it. It is my world. It's okay if it gives you anxiety. Even those of us who absolutely adore it also loathe it. It's like kind of a love-hate thing. Yeah, me too. I'm glad we have it, but I also miss some of the other ways that we did things too. All right. Thank you so much for answering those questions. That helps me to figure out who's in the room. I know we're being recorded for others, but it's more important to me that I hit your needs as we go through this process. All right. So if you're a 1, I want you to find your sweet spot today and figure out if technology, if you're a 1 or a 2 and technology in therapy or in education is relatively new, just sit back and listen. Observe and familiarize yourself with 1 or 2 things that you can use or ask questions about, even if it's, oh wow, I know where I can get this resource now. If you are a 2.5 to a 4 and using technology pretty seamlessly in therapy sessions, think about ways you can improve your use, focus on ways to build your toolbox, and focus on ways to feature match to select your tools for the student at hand if you can. And if you're a number 5, I would love well, I would love to hear from all of you. But number fives, you might be going through this session going, oh, man, I'm not getting anything new. Share your resources, share your techniques. I look at sessions like this as a give a penny, take a penny type of situation. So, share what you know and find another tech guru. Watch some of those fives go by and let's connect so we can chat and push each other to be a little stronger. All right, so when we talk about intervention during this time period and technology in that process, we need to definitely root ourselves in evidence-based work and then looking at how do we use those evidence-based practices that we know exist and implement them in a new service delivery model. And that's where that marriage of evidence-based practice and the tools are the student growth. The tool should never be the goal for this situation. It's the evidence-based intervention, so if we know what we want it to do, it's a little easier. Today, though, we're going to focus a lot on the tools so that you know what is available to feature match to your student. As you're looking at online services in Schoolology, there will be a link to this checklist or just questionnaire, which is considerations for evaluating online speech therapy resources. You can use this for any, so we have paraeducators on the line, we have teachers on the line, we have administrators on the line. Use this across the board to evaluating online resources. It's just a quick jot down evidence-based practice to make sure that we're not jumping on the pretty over the goals for the student. So first, we're going to highlight patent resources that are available to you. I did mention and asked about the speech language forums. So starting about the second week of the COVID response, we started having open meetings for speech language pathologists in the state of Pennsylvania to chat with each other and to talk about what was happening. These were patent moderated, but not necessarily trainings. We will be continuing those in the fall. I saw some people on here said I attended every one, which was wonderful, thank you. So some of these resources you already have access to. There may be new things on those resources since we've been updating them continuously throughout the summer, but they should already be familiar to you. If you're new, a new round will be opening up and will be found on our training plan or on our training calendar this fall, and we welcome you to come. We loved all the conversation, all the rich resources that came from that. So I caught a little bit of Jennifer's session, and she was using Padlets, and she was using Padlets as a polling of the audience and a generating conversation. We're using Padlets in the Speech Language Initiative as a repository of resources for the field. While we do have a COVID response section on our patent website, we really wanted to utilize your knowledge base and SLPs who are doing this work and teachers who are doing this work every single day to generate tools and practices and links and resources and trainings that will help you to feel more confident and to find out where things are. So this is a living document. It changes. I was adding things as Jennifer was talking. As we go, I know Tammy has added things along the way. So this is living and breathing and changing every day. It is for SLPs by SLPs. If you are a teacher on the call, absolutely use them too. The resources that we have, while we try to tailor it to SLPs, will benefit you as well. We do have the typical disclaimers that we need to do. Make sure you vet each one for your evidence-based practices and for the student at need. We can't endorse everything that's on there because we are opening this up for crowdsourced information. We do try to, glance at it every day, but sometimes things might get missed. And then there is a rating scale on each one of the documents I'm about to show you. So if you found a tool and you want to comment, it's another way of crowdsourcing information along this journey that we're on. If you are looking for the Padlets along the way, I will be popping in some information on how to find them. So just listen and then you will have access to them. They're under eChristopher and it's the username Pat and Speech. If you are new to Padlet, join Padlet and like the Padlets, and then that will keep you in the loop of when we update things. So I'm going to highlight a couple of the Padlets that I think would be very beneficial for the field. We have had a lot of resources shared on these. So the first one is the general resources for speech language pathologists and educators. And the categories on here I would like to highlight is we have information to share with families. So information like Jennifer shared in the last session regarding checklists that we have available, tools that work, and tools, different trainings that families might benefit from can be on the information to share with families. We have a COVID specific link. We have a non-COVID specific link, right? So while speech therapy feels like it all changed, the core of it didn't change. So we do need to keep updating our non-COVID knowledge level. Any websites or organizations to follow, information for IEP team meetings, patent resources. The patent resource link is a live list and clickable to get to the other Padlets. So once you get in there, you can move around within the Padlets. We have a list of lists. So some wonderful people have created just lists upon lists of like great tools, great therapy materials, great PD. Instead of going through and clicking on each one, we just created a category called list of lists. And then places to follow, people to follow, things to follow, ways to keep up on it. Right. I'm going to take a moment right now and stop my screen share so I can share the Padlet and fix that shareability for you. All right. Now anyone with this link is able to access this, and the list of Padlets is all on here. All right, thank you for hanging on. All right, let me put that in the chat so you can see the Padlets that we have. Here you go. Hopefully that is open now for you. Okay, and the list of all the Padlets. So there's hyperlinks and then there's spelled out links. People feel differently about each. So if you've been to our forums, there should be some new things on there. Please add things that you saw over the summer. If this is all new to you, just see what we have available for you. Another option of a Padlet is the COVID-19 engagement and interaction section. So this is a Padlet that was designed as ways to show tools and games and things that we use in speech therapy to engage students in our work. So we have spinners and dice and randomizers, word list books, language prompts, interactive games, links to things like Jennifer had mentioned, like Kahoot, and other games that we really love. Green screen information on how to use green screens for therapy and interaction, and virtual classrooms or the Bitmoji work that people are doing. All right, and then the last, or another one that we have available to you, is the COVID-19 therapy materials. Again, these are curated and from the field for the field. So these are things that SLPs across the state, and actually this one was shared nationally, have enjoyed in their work. So things for articulation, mixed targets, augmentative alternative communication, language prompting, dynamic assessment, data collection, videos and songs to work for a lot of things, and stimulus materials. If you have anything that you are loving, please keep adding them to there. We will go through at the end and kind of brainstorm some things too. Then we have the Padlet that's probably the most robust and I think the most beneficial to the field is the COVID-19 tools, tool trainings, and tutorials. So if you're a 1, a 2, or a 3 on that technology scale, and you're wondering to yourself, how do I learn more about these tools? We broke them out in various ways. You can go and say, I want to do some recording or creation. I'm going to go to that tab on the Padlet and see what's available to me. You might be told, right? The reality is some of us are being told, and for systematic reasons, to use Microsoft. It's really easy. It's a lot easier on family and kids when we keep our tools similar. So I can go to the Microsoft or the Google Meet and say, this is what I need. There's a lot of ways. If you're a 4 or a 5, there might be ways that people are using them differently than you are. If you have resources, please share them as well. One of the things we love to highlight in our COVID-19 tool training and tutorial section of our Padlet is all the amazing work our intermediate units are doing on ed tech trainings. So there's just some amazing tools out there that they're doing great references and great resources and step-by-step tutorials. And we have linked to those so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can see what else is out there. If you are somebody from an IU or a tech trainer, please add yours. We would love to highlight the work you're using as well. Another piece of the Padlet puzzle that we have is our comprehensive assessment Padlet. This is our newest Padlet. We know that the field is looking at comprehensive assessment through the same lens and new lens now. And so we just recently started this. It's our least updated Padlet at this time. But if you have resources for comprehensive assessment that you would like to share, please share them on this tool. And I am loving seeing people put in the chat window links to their items. Val, we have LIU 12 Learn On our link, but please keep posting those because you guys are doing amazing work. I can speak to the IUs I've looked at in the Central Region. I'm so proud of everything that we are producing in Pennsylvania right now to help. So please click anything or add something. I'm seeing a lot of joins, so that's great too as we go through here. So how could you use these Padlets? So please post resources, tutorials, tools that work for you. This is absolutely a place for you to share your resources with the field. Explore the tools that we have on there and see what's out there and available, and share. These Padlets are shareable. Copy the link, use that resource. We would love more and more people to join them. We are all in this together. I know during this process, this has really been overused, but we really are. And if you can't find a category or you're just short on time because you guys are doing the important work with students, please put your item in the put in a category section. Every single Padlet has one of those. So pop in the tool that you want to share. It is very easy to pop something into Padlet. Pop it in there and one of us in the speech initiative will organize it for you. So it's just a way to keep resources coming without you having to take the time to find it. As I had mentioned, another resource that Patton has been offering is the Open Forum. Information for it will be coming out in the training calendar very, very shortly, as all of us have had schedule fluxes over the the last couple months. We are too. So we're not quite ready to advertise it yet, but it's coming out within probably a week and a half. All right. So at this time, we're shooting for Wednesdays, but we'll keep you in the loop. Another item that is available to you and will be in the Schoology account is the SLP Collective Google Drive. This is part of the work from the open forums and another repository of services and work that you can access that SLPs and teachers have curated across the state. Our open forums also contain a Google group, and the Google group is an open listserv to ask questions to each other, connect with each other, and work through problems or share resources. So as this is more of like a spray out of all the tools and resources and ways that we can connect, we do understand that there is a need in the field for more concrete tutorial training. So this is kind of like the, a fishing, teaching you how to fish, how to find things, but there are more nuanced pieces of tools and technology. We do have a seminar series called Talking Tools. Again, not up for registration at this point, but very soon. And here are the dates. Again, this will be in your Schoology account for you, that we will have more in-depth tool training, step by step. This is how you do this tool. We will also have more opportunities coming up. We have a robust training plan this year with many more opportunities to come up. We're not ready to advertise those quite yet, but look for situations like This Is How I Do It, where SLPs and teachers will help you or talk to you about how they're doing asynchronous and synchronous lessons or how they're using tools along the way. All right. So at this point, I'm going to pause. I know that some of you are having problems with the technology. I'm seeing a lot of likes in the Padlet. If you have any questions about the patent resources, please generate it in the chat window. And I will circle back around to those. So there are a lot of ways outside of our patent resources to kind of get an idea or to keep on top of things that are out there, tools or tricks to be more efficient so that the tool doesn't take up our time. The therapy is our focus of time. So here's a couple simple tricks and tips to start this process or to continue it. Hopefully you'll get a few things out of this. So following hashtags on Twitter. So I want a quick yes or no. Are you currently following hashtags on Twitter? I love the honesty of kind of. That is so true, right? It's so true. I have to say I was, 5, 6 years ago when Twitter for Education got really big. And then I got sick of it and tired of it, and then COVID hit, and now I'm back. And I'm with you on the exhaustion for sure. I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to do this without having to deep dive into the social nightmare of social media. Some ways to get the references you need without having to worry about it. So another tip is to join tweet meetups. We're going to talk about those as well. Join Facebook groups. Again, the Facebook groups hold a little more of that exhaustion of social media than maybe the hashtags do. But they can be, especially during COVID, they have been very valuable. Anybody in Facebook groups for speech or for ed tech? All right, I'm seeing some mixed. I'll be honest, before the pandemic, I wouldn't be doing a training on Facebook or Twitter groups. But I have found that there's so many resources and great ways to keep up on stuff. I found a TikTok the other day. It was 30 seconds on a Facebook group, and I learned how to do something while I was just kind of sitting around the house. So it was nice and a quick way to do it. So subscribing to YouTube channels is another way. Hold on. Oh, hold on a moment. We have a bit of a technical difficulty. What I'm going to ask you to do while we have this technical difficulty is we're going to skip a little bit ahead. And can you share, if you are on Facebook groups, in the chat window, share the ones you found the most useful. All right. Okay. All right, sorry about that, guys. Thanks for popping those in a little earlier than needed or than indicated originally, but thanks. So some of the ones that I'm seeing is SLP Summit. They were great this year, weren't they? School-based SLPs, SPED Teachers Group, very helpful, great resources. I have not done that one yet. PA SLP Facebook is really good. The school-based SLPs and the medical SLPs. Green screen therapy, you know, I'm so glad that you threw that in there because I was looking for one of those and I haven't found that yet. So what I'm going to do is keep popping those up and I'm going to curate that list for us so we have more. Our Padlet has a link to all of those lists that we generated as a team, and then we'll have more for you. So just back to other tips and tricks to keep up to date on things, subscribe to YouTube channels, follow again your IU ed tech departments. As SLPs, sometimes we don't keep as in touch with our ed tech partners as we should, and now is a great time. Sometimes we go to trainings on technology like Flipgrid and it just doesn't feel like it applies to us. One suggestion is to attend or do it together with a team member or with another SLP. Throw it out on our Google group and say, I'm going to take this training, someone else want to take it with me. And then you can talk it through a little bit. A lot of our IU TACs are SLPs, so they kind of give us some of that framework. But it's always helpful to attend with a colleague or a friend and say, okay, so Flipgrid, how would that work with 65 kids and this caseload style? So that's always helpful as well. If you're overwhelmed, start with our resources. We curated them for you and come to an open forum. All right, so any tricks and tips that I missed? And thank you to the PTs and the OTs who are adding things that I didn't think about. We want to include everyone. I apologize if I'm not getting to everyone. Keep popping them in. So in the chat window, any tricks or tips that I missed? All right, I see Pinterest. Yeah, that is one I did not put up, but it is really useful as well. Lesson picks, any of those shared sources. So Seesaw has a community, Lesson Picks has a community, any community-based resource is always helpful. Boom Cards has a community as well. All right. So here's, we kind of skipped ahead, but some of the formats for our share out. So I'm going to share what I know, and I want you to share what you know. Tammy, Jennifer, and I have no way to know everything there is. So we're going to share what we know, and I'm hoping you add to our list a little bit. All right, so first, I saw some of these pop up. The Facebook groups that I really liked during COVID have been incredibly resource-driven, helpful, school SLPs resources for COVID-19. So a lot of practical conversations going on that site as well. At this time, speech and language virtual rooms. What I like about that is if you are ready to dive into a virtual classroom for engagement purposes, there are people who are sharing what they did, how they did it, videos of how they're doing it, and sometimes their documents as well. So it's really helpful. So here are my non-COVID ones. You guys mentioned most of them. So if you're in Central Pennsylvania, there's an SLPs of Central Pennsylvania. If there's one for the Western or Eastern region, please let me know. School-based SLPs for professionals only. Clinical research for SLPs is a really good evidence-based following, so not as good for COVID resources, but overall speech therapy, and SLPs for evidence-based practice. Take a look at that checklist that we created a little earlier in the materials, and just check yourself before you go into these sites. Things to ask yourself are, who's the face behind them? Why were they created? Sometimes you will see a trend towards one guru or the other in our Facebook groups. Not as much the COVID ones, are a little more like share the resources. Ask yourself if it's administrator heavy or person heavy, like the participants heavy, and you'll be able to evaluate the resources a little bit more. All right, did I miss any? Okay. All right, now let's go to Twitter. So like I said, and like somebody said in the chat window, social media is exhausting when you start doing it for professional and for personal reasons. I kind of got away from Twitter for a while, but during COVID-19 it's been really helpful. I have been in love with the resources out there. Over a cup of coffee in the morning, I can quickly find out what Seesaw has updated, Microsoft Teams has added, and then I kind of stay up in the back of my mind, okay, if I need that, this is what's available. So it's a wonderful resources. So here's the hashtags that I like to follow. So hashtag online learning, EdTech, virtual learning, remote learning, and distance learning. Does anyone have any for general education reasons that you like? Please pop that in the chat window if you do. Feel free as well to add any that you found to be a little bit of a virtual dead end, because sometimes you jump on them and then they don't go anywhere. So that's always helpful too, to know what's going to not waste your time following. I see online learning. All right. And the next level of hashtags are speech language pathologist based. So this kind of came out of some conversations I've had with SLPs and in our coaching since this all took off, is like, well, how do I keep up on this? How do you keep up on this? And it's been really helpful to keep up on particular tools or different things that I'm interested in through this mode. That's how I can keep up on like new research that's out. So here are the SLP Twitter hashtags that I would recommend if you are inclined to do that. So we have one. It's PTN Speech. So anything that's coming out of us gets tweeted through there. Asha also has one, and Asha Web is another one. And then there's Speech Sound Disorders, SLP Peeps, OGCOM, Assistive Technology, DLD, and Developmental Language Disorders, truncated. What speech ones am I missing? Okay. A few things with Twitter, especially there is one called We Speechies, which is fantastic, but evaluate where it's coming from. Many of the Twitter resources are from Australia or England, and so the references to the education system and the laws are different. Again, on that checklist is to always watch where the poster is coming from. Chapter 14, which is our state education, special education laws and code, is different than other states. So please keep in mind who's coming and what perspective those presenters are coming from. Twitter chats that I really like are AT chat. That is a very interactive one, and EdTech. So these are ways that you log on and use the hashtag and you can talk to each other or post questions. Did I miss any? I know we have a couple of our attacks on that probably know some that I don't know. All right, and this is the way I really am using it and love it so much, is there's some great quick chat. So Seesaw is doing like 30-second training videos or tutorials on Seesaw chat. So if you're using Seesaw, it's a quick way to just keep up to date on what new releases are out there. Flipgrid is also doing quick PD on their Twitter. Pear Deck just had an entire what they called Pear Fair PD virtually on Twitter. So it's another really nice way to keep in the loop of things that are coming up. Google has the Google Classroom hashtag, Google Meet, and Google Slides. And one that I have really been following this summer because a lot of changes have come down on Microsoft with accessibility and with Teams usability and interaction with other tools like Kahoot, for example, that we really like, is keeping up to date on the hashtags for Microsoft products. If you're on YouTube, Mike Thos, I'm not going to pronounce that right, so I'm not going to even say it. He has a wonderful quick tutorial YouTube channel. It's another really nice resource if you are using Microsoft products but not as comfortable with them. All right, what'd I miss? So what Twitter people or hashtags have been helpful during this time to you? Okay. I think, like I said earlier, I think Twitter was something we all jumped on a couple years ago. Actually, before I was at Patton, some more than a couple years ago. Was really into Twitter for education, and then kind of faded over time. But I have found it really useful in keeping up on information in a timely manner, right? So none of us have time. And now with the blur of work and school and life in general, it's really difficult to stay up on things. So ways that we really I really like to stay up on it is those quick checks, you know, those downtimes. I just quick check my professional Twitter and see what's happening. What works for you? And I'll go back, Lori, for you for the Google information. Here you go. And don't worry, this is all going to be in the Schoology account for you, all the resources, everything, so that you can get it later. All right, I have not used Instagram as much, but if you're using Instagram, what is working really well? I know there's a couple really good SLPs who have Instagram accounts, but I haven't used it as much. Can you share out? Oh yeah, Speech Dude. I forgot about Speech Dude. Yes, PT Speechy has been a really helpful resource. All of these tools that I've mentioned are on our Padlets already. So if you're missing anything, it's on there. So PT Speechy is on our Padlet as a link to SLPs and resources. Yeah, thank you guys. Keep popping those in. One way to stay up on Twitter hashtags is Tweetdeck. Again, this was something I absolutely abandoned. I was super into a long time ago and then kind of quit. And during COVID, popped it back in. You either love it or you hate it. In my experience, people use Tweetdeck. Love or hate? What are you thinking? It can be overwhelming, but it is also a nice one-stop shop. So what TweetDeck is a way for you to you download TweetDeck, you put your Twitter information in it, and then you can follow the hashtags that are of interest to you all in one space. So I have mine organized in columns like this, and I can stay up to date on anything Microsoft Ed or EDU or AT Chat or SLP Peeps all in one form. So it's a little easier to stay up to date. Sometimes if I'm not in the mood or I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's too much information for me. All right, keep popping those things in, please. All right. So now we're going to go to YouTube channels. So first and foremost, I have to highlight the Patent ones. So Patent has a YouTube channel that we have Patent podcasts, and we have the trainings like you're watching right now are recorded and placed up on our YouTube channel. You can click the red button, just like every YouTuber that you watch, you click the red button below. You can subscribe to that and then it will update. As we go through, if you could see my screen is popping up updates because I have it to feed to me when things are updating. I follow Microsoft that way with the subscribe button, so every time I log on to YouTube, it kind of pops up. I have YouTube on all of my home TVs, so if I have some downtime and I check YouTube, it will tell me when things pop up and I need to pay attention to it. PDE has a YouTube channel, and our newest YouTube channel is Patent Reads. So patent consultants have read some wonderful books, and it's another resource to use. What YouTube channels? There's so many wonderful education YouTube channels out there, and wonderful stimulus material YouTube channels like Following Cincinnati Zoo, or I just found out that there's one, San Diego Zoo has an otter live cam, and it's kind of a nice way to have some kind of interactive communication with students. Which ones do you guys like? Oh, sorry. I keep hitting my scroll button. Yeah, PlaySpark Toys is great for green therapy or green screen therapy. Sorry. Yeah, it's a wonderful resource for that. She has some great tutorials and then free green screens. So that's really helpful. Kennywood, I haven't done Kennywood. I do Hershey Park. I have Hershey Park has all the roller coasters on there. Rachel Maddow does some great AAC ones. It's TweetDeck, like the past tense, I guess. All right. All right, now in kind of our wrap up part, what is one tool that you couldn't live without right now? And what do you use it for? So pop that into the window and let's see. So it doesn't have to be Facebook or Twitter, it just can be anything. So it could be a scheduling app that you love, or your calculator on your phone, or whatever you're using. I love the diversity of your favorite tools. It's so important that we find what works for us and what we love. So some of the ones I'm seeing is YouTube shows for videos to elicit language, um, document cameras. We have a whole list on our Padlet of ways to make your phone and other tools document cameras, so that's available for you. Scanners have come so far, and there's a whole sheet. If you have scanner apps that you love or scanner software that you really enjoy using, please pop that up. That's on the tools under scanners that we like. Google Calendar, sometimes it's as wonderful as going back to something we've had forever, right? And just using that. I love Google Calendar for everything in my life. So keep going. This is great. Please take note of anything that's new for you. Pixar wordless videos has popped up in a lot of my meetings recently. That's a great one. It's also on our wordless engagement videos. So please pop those, keep that going. All right. So in lieu of breakout rooms, we're going to keep this conversation going because it's always better with more people for this conversation. So we hope to have you at our forums if you're a Pennsylvania SLP, and we can keep having these conversations as well. So what is one training or CEU or continuing education that you have found, doesn't have to be speech specific, that you would recommend to a fellow educator? So an SLP, a teacher, and an administrator. Keep popping those up. These are two I have not seen yet. So EdWeb webinars on virtual learning. That's new to me, and Chris Clayton is new to me as well. So thank you. What is your favorite engagement item? Keep those professional development things coming, but let's move on to engagement as well. So what's your one engagement item that you found in the spring or you're really looking forward to trying this school year? All right, I'm just going to highlight a few that were in here. Please definitely look. Again, I'm going to take the chat window when this is done and put it together and upload this all in a resource document for you. So toy theater, that has come up a lot recently. Surprise sound effects. Super simple songs on YouTube. Epic Books is epic in my opinion. I love it. It's popular in my family and very popular in my therapy thought or my toolbox. PowerPoint, yeah, keep it simple sometimes. PowerPoint's really powerful. Quizzes, Pink Cat, and Language Playroom. Great. If you have, I have not heard of Katie's Classroom yet, so I'm going to look that one up. And whiteboards, we have a whole Padlet section on different whiteboards and different ways to use whiteboards. So keep going with those. All right, so for my speech therapist, what's your favorite articulation therapy item during this time period? All right, I'm seeing PT speech videos, Ultimate SLP, Pixton, Mommy Speech Therapy, Speech Tutor app. Somebody's using, good old-fashioned therapy materials like your mouth, which is great. Again, as Jennifer said earlier, it's really important that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Sometimes we can do some of the things we were already doing without worrying about getting it fancy. So work that way. All right. So if these are new to you, look at the Padlet a little bit and see what you can find. Don't feel pressure to try new things like this. If it's working, it's working. But I know that as SLPs, we always strive to do the best for our students. And sometimes, you might have that session on Friday morning that just fell flat, right? Maybe you never had that, but I definitely have had that. And then it keeps you up at night. So if it keeps you up at night, get on that Padlet and check it out and see what's there to get that engagement and to interact with the student. All right, thank you for putting the portal. I will post that. Okay, let's go to language therapy. Now, I get that this is a huge topic. I wanted it to be that way. So anything you're doing for language. Excellent. And I see Simon Cat and Frozen. Yeah, and Pink Videos always comes up during this as well. Boom cards is always helpful. Just your own materials that you generate. Oh, your kids' toys. Yeah, absolutely. Stuff from around my house absolutely becomes part of anything I do. All right, keep that going, guys. So we do have a section for a share out. We do not have time to do that, but this is Padlet. I will put that up there so that you can share out tools if you're thinking about this or watching this later. That will be here. All of our Padlet links are on the document I sent you, will be in the Schoolology reference list, will be on this document here. Keep those coming. I love this. So next steps. Next steps for learning a little bit more is explore the resources we have and other resources that Tammy and Jennifer mentioned today during their sessions. Add resources so that we keep this going. Share what you know with your SLPs. Explore one hashtag group or YouTube channel as you're going back to school. And attend an open forum for SLPs. Again, I'm going to, shameless plug, but we would love more people to have conversations. Okay. And last, again, certainly not least, if you're in the weeds and you're starting to think to yourself, oh my gosh, I need some help. Patent does more than presentations. We're here to consult and coach SLPs and support you through your process. We're here for you, especially now. So if you're in the central region of the state, reach out to me. If you're in the eastern region, please reach out to Tammy Thompson-Cook. And if you're in the western region, please reach out to Jennifer Geibel. If you are not sure what region you are in or which one to reach out, shoot me an email and I'll direct you as the lead. So I want to go through one last thing with you. I want you to jot down in the chat window one thing you're going to take from this session. Even if, man, it stunk, that's okay. One thing that you're going to take from this. As you're doing that, I'm going to wrap us up. Keep doing that in the chat window as we go. If you are, one thing that I wanted to address is if you're a speech language pathologist who's looking for Asha credits, we did not pre-register this course for Asha credits, so Asha CEUs are not available for this course. If you are an Asha member and you track your own, or you would like to track your own for this course, you can use your certificate of attendance for what's called a CMH, or a continuing maintenance hour, and then that will count towards your continuing maintenance hours. It will not go on your ASHA CEU registry. We will have many other opportunities for ASHA credits this summer, or this fall, pardon me. It's all really melding together. It's been a long 6 months, hasn't it, Ashley? But we will have many more. The things that were canceled in the spring are being rescheduled. We do have some national presenters and some of our patent staff doing some trainings, and they will be virtual for you with Asha credits, and they are coming as well. So thank you everyone for your time today. We really appreciate it. And Ashley, do you have